Welcome back, folks. We're live at the National Association of Electrical Distributors South Central Region Conference, Greg.
That's right, 2020 in Austin, Texas. Here we are.
Come on, man. What's the hashtag around it? Hashtag NAED SCRC. That's what it is, folks. You know what? I remember there was a time in the lighting business, Greg, when everyone would talk about the big three.
That was a while ago.
Forget about it, son.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get yourself to the Keystone, man. Go to Keystone Technologies. That's KEYSTONETECH.com. Light made easy, Greggy.
They're retrofit kings.
Come on, man. Go down there, KeystoneTech.com. On the second stream from this conference, we have Mark McGready from Sparks IQ. Mark, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Yes.
So you're a data dork.
I take offense at the dork part.
He likes the data part.
You know, if you had said data genius, I would have felt a lot better about that. But yeah, I'm a data guy. I think data is the thing. It is the currency of the future.
It's the currency of the future.
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Well, if you look at every other industry and you look at how companies are developing themselves and how they're growing, it's all due to data. Whether it's it's usually B2C at the moment, where data is king. And we're just 20 years behind, like we were 20 years behind with everything at the moment.
Just keep going. I'm just going to move that a little bit. There
Thank
you go.
Yeah. It'll happen to this industry too. And my big convincer is we're an industry that's done things the same way for the last 40, 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, it's a bunch of guys sitting around talking about business, trying to get a deal, trying to figure out what the customer's looking for, coming up with as good a price as we can and closing the order and then just figuring things out from there. But the generation who behaves that way are retiring. And the boomers are disappearing in record numbers, 10,000 every single day is heading off into the sunset. Gen X, there's not really an awful lot of us. We're a thin breed, so we're looking
we're
at
the best.
Now.
We're the best generation.
Yes. Well, we are, clearly. I mean, look how awful millennials, millennials, but the millennials are coming in.
No, don't be kicking the millennials. They're the ones watching this show, man.
I know.
We love you guys. Thank you for tuning into the stream.
Dose of reality.
They can't afford to come to this conference. But I disagree with you. I think that the data is a component. Okay, I'm going to share an anecdote with you. Okay.
Yeah.
So a big thing in NHL hockey right now is metrics.
Yes.
Okay, so you hear about big data metrics in NHL and NFL and all that sort of stuff, right? And I remember I was listening to one of the coaches, and I'm Canadian, so I love hockey. And this one coach, they were asking him questions, and they're like, yeah, what about metrics and da 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 da. And he turned to them and he goes, yeah, you know what we want to do is we want to score more goals than the other team.
Right? Yes.
Right. And it's like you can get wild with data. It's not the it's a component in your strategy that this industry needs to adopt. Yes. But I don't think it's the currency of the future.
So
because that's a big statement you made.
Well, I mean you're Canadian.
Let's start with that.
So baseball is not going to be a successful story to talk about the Canadian about. But if you look at what they tried to do in baseball, I mean, metrics and analytics helped the Red Sox win a couple of World Series, and they helped the Cubs win a World Series. So there's got to be something to it.
Yeah, but the players won the World Series.
They did, yes. But the players that they brought in with the budgets that they had and the situations that they found themselves in and how to handle a certain inning or how to handle a certain batter or what pitches to throw. At the end of the day, it's like saying about any company, the sales guy brought in the order, but there's a lot of things that happened before the sales guy brought in the order. If you're looking at the result without looking at everything that happened to drive that result, then you're just measuring the impact at the end of the day, but that leaves you without a map for how to replicate that in other situations. So data analysis is really about understanding where success comes from, understanding what the right environment looks like and what the wrong environment looks like, and understanding where you have issues right now. So I'm an NBA guy. And in basketball, you can get the best players and throw them all on the team together. And they can be in the Houston Rockets, where they just can't get it done every single year. And so they'll bring in some new guys.
Or you can be the Toronto Raptors, son, and you can win it all.
We can. Well, you brought in Kawhi, so that was
they're still in first place now, bro. They don't need no Kawhi.
Well, is it the finals yet?
Oh, they're gonna win again, buddy.
No, they're not.
And they don't need your data.
And in this stream right now, if we make a bet right here, he's going to have to live up to the bet.
Yeah, because it's recorded.
So what are you betting?
I bet you $50 the Raptors don't win the NBA championship.
So you get every other team, and I get the Raptors.
You just said that you believe the Raptors are going to win.
No, but that's not a bet.
You made the statement they're going to win it all. I'm saying you're not.
But you can't have every other team in the NBA.
Why?
Okay, so I'll bet you $50, but you give me 100 to 1 odds, or 10 to 1 odds. Because you get every other team in the NBA.
Okay.
And I get the Raptors.
Now, I'm qualifying your statement that the Raptors are going to win it all again.
Right. But what I'm saying to you is that I'll take the Raptors. You get every other team in the NBA, but you got to give me odds.
Okay, I'll give you 10 to 1.
Done.
No.
Done. No. I get 500, you get 50. Let's go Raps, buddy. Okay, US dollars, by the way, not Canadian.
And, no, real money.
Yeah, real money. Come on, George Washington. Okay, so I want to get back into this data thing, though, here. So
yes.
You know why the electrical lighting, we're from lighting, but lighting is kind of a component of electrical.
Yeah.
You know why data metrics and online are like slow to creep into this business?
Because it's difficult.
Yes, it's very complicated. That's exactly what the answer is.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, we live in a negotiation business.
And it's made intentionally complicated, too. Not only is it complicated, but people try to make it more complicated, actually.
Well, and lighting, I mean, you're talking about lighting.
Lighting, for sure. Lighting's the worst.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's an element of that's protectionism. There's an element of that is just the complication of the products that we're trying to sell, and it's understandable. Plus, we're dealing with very different types of customer. If you're doing B2C, every customer roughly looks the same. Everybody buys one car. Everybody buys, one pair of shoes, kind of a thing. It's not where you're dealing with one contractor who's going to buy, 500 light boxes a year, and another guy who's going to buy 500 boxes a year. So we have a standard distribution to solve very different customer bases. But let me give you an example of how data makes all the difference in the world. So my company is called Sparks IQ. Previously, it was known as Strategic Pricing Associates. And what this company would do is they would go into a manufacturer or a distributor, and they would evaluate different levels of sensitivity that they saw in the transactions of their business. This is a high sensitive transaction because it's a big customer buying in bulk, and he's buying it frequently in volume, and he's aware of the price. This is a low sensitive transaction because the customer buys it very infrequently, and what's driving that transaction is the availability and the support.
Yeah, walking on the counter, grabbing the stuff and going.
All of that sort of stuff. So by truly understanding, using data, the dynamics of sensitivity within an organization, they can then take that back to look at the pricing strategy that company has to see whether their pricing discipline and their pricing strategy matches those sensitivity levels. And quite often they find it wasn't, because sales guys would have cried about a price on an unsensitive situation, or they would have butter knife pricing across the board thinking it wasn't really worth it or whatever it might be. But they would come in and they would say, okay, if you tweak your price here and you tweak your price here to recognize where price is and driving the transaction, here's the net result. And I'm going to take a 3% net profit company and make them a 6% net profit company overnight. You double the profits of your organization, giving you all that extra money to invest whoever you need to through the application.
Where do I sign up, man? Come on.
Oh, yeah, I'll give you my business card. Very reasonable rates.
So you're talking about it's different transactions, and you rate them differently and you price it accordingly.
Yes. You can do it by you would do it. I mean, they do a lot.
So you have dynamic pricing going on in your company.
No, there are situations where you have dynamic pricing and some situations where you have fixed pricing, but you just want to have disciplined pricing. So you give your sales guys the opportunity to negotiate or move from the price if they want to do an override or a modification in these situations. But in these other ones, this is our price. Let's hold it steady. So the retail sector's already figured this out. So let me give you a real life example that makes it real easy. Mm-hmm. If you go to a grocery store and you're buying bread and milk, and bread and milk is a product that 75% of the consumers are going to buy on every single trip that they go into. It is a product that has a low diversity range of products. It sells in high volume. Inventory turns over typically every 3 days or so. And the grocery store is selling at a cost +2 or cost +3. They don't really make any money when they're selling that product because they can't. Because if you try and make 40 or 50% gross margin when you're selling a 2-gallon of milk, it'll cost $1 more than the other guys and people who go elsewhere. They understand that that's where sensitivity exists. Now, if you turn the corner with your gallon of milk and you go to the cereal aisle, so you want to have some breakfast. So it's about 250 different variations of cereal that you can buy in every average.
I hate grocery stores.
Well, Like, what stores do you like?
No, keep going though. I'm just thinking about it's like, yeah, you try to buy something in the grocery store, the milk's all the way at the back.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you walk past
It's like,
everything
oh
else.
God, I just want to get some butter.
That's simple. That's simple. If they put it at the front,
Put it at the front, I'll pay $1 more.
yeah, you wouldn't. Amazon will figure that out whenever they open that local Whole Foods. But if they put it at the front, you would never go anywhere else in the store, and that's the whole point. There's 250 different variations of cereal that you can buy. And some of them are price sensitive and some of them are not. And usually the higher up on the shelf you go, the higher the margins for the grocery store.
Is that so? Okay.
So if you're buying Frosted Flakes or Corn Flakes or something like that, that's going to be on the bottom shelf and you're going to buy one of those big boxes. That's a cost plus 15, cost plus 20 product for that grocery store. Yep. If you go up and you're buying Special K or Raisin Bran or something like that, that's usually cost plus 30, cost plus 40. And then if you're getting that muesli stuff that comes in small boxes that only people that are on terrible diets eat right at the top shelf and you have to reach up this to get it, cost plus 50. So their margin strategy, their profitability of two products that are sitting right side by side against each other in the same aisle are radically different because the guy who's buying the Frosted Flakes and the Corn Flakes is more price sensitive than the person who's buying the muesli because their transaction is being driven by need, by their product desire and the product capabilities rather than buying the cheapest cereal they possibly can. Now, the best example of this is in the cosmetics aisle, toothpaste. There are 300 different packages of toothpaste that you can buy in every single grocery. Every single different packages of toothpaste. Now, people only buy one or two types of toothpaste in their entire life. It's not something that you consume and you go around and say, oh, I'm going to buy this one today and buy this one tomorrow and try something different. You pick one, it's soap for your teeth. You don't really care. But whenever you're making that transaction and buying that item, it's a slow selling product. It's an inventory that turns very infrequently. There's usually sitting at about 2 or 3 months supply at any given time. But when they sell you that, 75% of the price is their margin. And the rest of it is
so they're making money on the toothpaste.
They make money on all the slow stuff.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say. I don't think I think that the and this is me from a little bit on the outside. I don't think there is a lot of room for pricing to come down on electrical commodity items. I think that right. So I think that's what's preventing innovation. I think you've already the pipe and wire is marked up 10% for these guys.
Yeah. They're covering the cost. They're not making any money.
Right.
But you don't make your money on that.
Right. So they're moving tons of pipe at 10%, 8% markup or whatever, cost plus 8 or whatever terminology you want to use. And so that's preventing the adoption of data because data is driven by the reduction in price for the.
Well, pipe and wire is only going to be maybe 10 or 15% of your revenues in stock sales. So you sell a whole bunch of if you're not selling a whole bunch of other stuff, then you're in trouble.
Right.
But everything else that you sell, the average distributor sells 20 to 25,000 different SKUs in a year. The commodity items are going to be 200 of those SKUs. The high demand items are at most about 1,500 to 2,000 of those SKUs. So the vast majority of the items that they are selling should be more profitable items and different scales of profitability. The thing that data ultimately directs you on is the nature of the product. How does this product sell in my marketplace? What is the nature of how this transacts? What drives a customer to want this particular item? And you use the data to define the nature of that product, and that helps you figure out your sales strategy, your support strategy, your pricing strategy.
Yes, I mean, so you're saying that this is a product that requires sales support to sell.
This is a highly technical, complicated product that's going to have a 6-month lead time for a customer to try and buy it, but when they buy it, they're going to buy it for the next 4 years. So what does my business model look like? And the trouble that a lot of distributors have is they're selling very different products in the same umbrella.
Yes.
It's the bread and milk versus the cosmetic side of things. So the bread and milk is going to be your wire and pipe. Everyone has it. Everyone gives it away. Nobody can make any money on it. Don't try and make any money on it. But if you're selling industrial control products, do you have a pricing strategy that recognizes what's involved in learning those products and inventorying those products? No, they're not going to sell as quickly, making sure that you're capturing the price from the customer. Or do you have a sales force discipline that's treating industrial control products similar to how they treat pipe and wire, because that's just the culture and the mindset that they have, where they're negotiating price and they're giving it away and they don't recognize the value, they don't recognize the circumstance.
That's why lighting distributors don't like it when electrical distributors sell lighting.
Yeah,
because they put in like, dude, you can sell that for way more. What are you doing coming in with that at 15 points?
Yeah,
you don't know how to sell lighting. That thing got
to
double cost that thing, man.
The easiest way to sell is to sell for the lowest price, and if that's all it took, then.
But that matters too, man.
It matters sometimes, and that's what data analysis is about: is when it matters and when it doesn't matter. Because if you make it matter all the time, you don't make any money.
Yeah,
you can't
true.
invest
It's not
in your
fun.
business.
So how does the process work? You guys go into a company. I assume it's a big audit process. You go through all the transactions.
The transactions tell you everything you need to know. So the measurements of a company boil down to 4 criteria: their sales performance, their operational costs, and their cost to serve.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at the profitability, what we want to do is understand the nature of every item and how it sells for that distributor, because distributors are different. And then we have a look at where we think the levels of price sensitivity exist, A, B, C, D items, to try and keep things fairly simple. And that may be for different customers and for different customer demographics or for different customer sizes. And we'll come back and we'll say, this is what we think the model of pricing should be. And we'll show evidence of where you have transactions that are already at this price, where you sold it to a similar type of customer for half the margin because the sales guy panicked and just wanted to try and get the deal as much as possible. And what we're trying to do is go back and say, there are some items where you can go wild. Do what you need to do with price, because price is going to drive the transaction. But have the discipline, have the training, have the support internally to know whenever you can hold on to price and whenever you can keep it. So many times, what we find whenever we're working with distributors and they're talking about their inside salespeople, they override by default. They will get a call in from a customer, they will see an item and they'll say, you know what, I can give you a better price, before the customer even asked for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Or they won't respect the price increase. Price increase comes in and they look at the last price paid by the customer and they try and charge the same again.
Yes,
or they'll not bill everything together and they'll just say, throw everything.
But is this
out.
a software issue though?
No, it's a cultural issue. It's a behavioral issue, which is why the behavior of the millennials coming in and replacing the boomer generation will be more adaptable to this kind of model. But it's providing the data architecture and the measurement and the culture that supports.
Is there anybody that's really looking at the electrical industry and like licking their chops for it? Any companies out there like, yeah, we're going to take those suckers down?
No, Home Depot to me is a really good example. So I worked at Square.
A failure?
A failure.
Yeah.
Home Depot. I worked at Square D. So 20 years ago.
That's that TAPS Square D. Square D, the belt. Okay, sorry.
Square D. Sorry, the Schneider Electric.
Sure, okay.
So
breakers and panels.
When Home Depot came in, there was a fear that Home Depot was going to really hurt electrical distributors. It turned out Home Depot served the customers that most electrical distributors never called back anyway and didn't want to get their business on. And they couldn't figure out the distribution side of things because those companies are not structured to be built on the bulk of their transactions being negotiated. They just didn't have that capability. They want to put it on the shelf and here's the price and you buy it and then you go out the door.
Self-serve.
They want every customer to look the same. And in this industry, customers don't look the same.
No.
Customers look really different. Even if you think they're doing the same kind of thing, they look really different by different kind of things. So if they can't do it with their billions of dollars, I don't think there's many companies. Like everybody talks about the Amazon threat, and I get real tired of that because I've been hearing it for 15 years, and I'm cynical about it. If I'm Grainger, Amazon's a threat. But if I'm an electrical distributor who's serving the Austin marketplace for the last 5 years, Amazon is ancillary. Amazon's just going to capture some of the crumbs kind of a thing. But they're not going to go after the business that I'm trying to serve and the business that I'm trying to support because they don't have that complexity to be able to spend time with a customer and understand what they need.
It's funny because when and I'm going to say something that might be ridiculous. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Like Uber's not that complicated. Okay.
No, it's not.
I hate to break your news to people. Oh, this is the tech companies. It's actually not that complicated. Okay. You got a guy who has a car and you have a person that wants a ride. Put them together.
That's it.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's like genius. Oh, not really. Okay. Now, electrical distribution is more complicated by a exponential amount, by a degree, like that's what's the word I'm looking for, by a the power of 10.
It's a different league.
Yeah, it's like the Uber is like nothing compared to what this industry is like.
No, I mean Uber is. I have a car. Every taxi firm in the world should have got a bunch of guys to build that same software.
Sure.
Because Uber works because of the app.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what car they're getting into. There's no advantage there, and they've tried to mess up the price. But people like the convenience of being able to, one, know who the driver is, so they're not getting in with a weirdo, and two, to see where the car is coming, and then it comes in. You can get in the car,
and the price is fixed.
The price is already
paid. You don't have
it's already
to get cash
identified.
out.
Yeah,
You're not sitting there looking at the meter go up, wondering if he's taking you the wrong way. So it is a process improvement.
There's no opportunity like that in electrical distribution, though.
No, I mean, that's why the software companies, even with e-commerce, I'm a big cynic in e-commerce because customers aren't going to really want to buy stuff online. That's not how the customers buy. There's a lot of people, I think, don't understand how this industry sells and how this industry operates. So they try and take a B2C mindset, or they try and take an experience from somewhere else and try and apply it here. But we just sell differently. So I was at an industry event for cleaning supplies. And of course, they're worried about the Amazon threat. But every customer kind of looks the same when it comes to cleaning supplies. Sure. But they don't look the same when it comes to buying electrical products. Sure. And that's the fundamental difference between the two. One of my favorite anecdotes, when I started off my own business, I ran my own business for a few years. And I was working with a company that got called into Ferguson Plumbing. And Ferguson had built an e-commerce system that spent $3 or $4 million putting this in place, and they had launched it to 23,000 independent small plumbers. And the business pitch, which made sense, was let's build an e-commerce system for these guys where they can go in and they can place the order, and we will guarantee that their order is ready to be picked up at 6 a.m. the next morning. So they launch it, big fanfare, send it out, and after 23,000 guys they wrote to, 900 placed an order. 300 placed a second order, and they had a user base of 160 guys. So they were trying to figure out what they needed to do. And what they didn't identify was that the customer didn't want to behave like a consumer customer, that these guys weren't going to work all day, come home at 8 o'clock, grab some dinner, put the kids to bed, and at 10 p.m., enter their stock order for the next day for whatever they wanted. That wasn't their behavior. Their behavior is they're going to get up at 6, they're going to fall out of bed, they're going to go to the store, they're going to throw the guy saying, I need this today, they're going to drink the coffee, talk about the game, make it part of their ritual, and then take off to start the work for the day. So you were putting a process and making the customer responsible for doing that process rather than you doing it yourself.
Totally agree.
And they didn't take the time to understand who their customer was.
They want to tell people how to do things.
Yes.
And you know what? People don't like to be told what to do.
You can't change something it doesn't want to change.
Yeah, exactly. Not only that, though, but it's like, you know, who are you? You know, it's one of those things where, you know, who are you to say this is how you should do your business in a way? You understand, to your customer. Your customer tells you how to behave, actually.
Ultimately. If you want to sell to them.
Yeah. It's not, you don't get to tell them, okay, after dinner, like you said, when you're done putting your kids to bed, now put your stock order in. Thanks.
Yeah.
No, dude, it doesn't work that way. You're exactly the way you get, and there's a million different ways that people do business. So, yeah.
So that's kind of why when Amazon has been the threat for 15 years and still not here, and when e-commerce has been the hope and promise of the future and it's still not here, it's because they don't work here. They work in other places. If I was a B2C guy, I would need to have a consumer website to try and sell anything. But we got to figure out what does work here and what this industry really looks like.
How data is going to be brought in to it.
Yes,
is an interesting way to look at it. Like it's interesting because I think what the easy things with the internet are done. Taxi cabs, Ubers, Facebook-y stuff, Amazon.
Yeah, they'll just get
it's
perfected
done.
and
it's
refined.
Done. Yeah, they're just like that's already done. It's over, right? But you know, I think the future is going to go to a new kind of company. It's a company that has specific industry knowledge, but also is a software company too. Like it's a distribution company that's also a software development company or something like that together. So you're bringing that industry specific knowledge to the table and the software development, right? That's the future.
And I think that when I said data is the currency of the future, I think us driving a lot of that. So another example might be if I'm a distributor and I've got 200 sales guys and I'm trying to figure out what those sales guys do every day. If I have my reporting architecture is just basically to tell them you sold this much this month, go hunt, go do what you need to do. I get whatever they deliver. But if I have reporting architecture that says, okay, here's the customers that have gone away that we need to call on. Here's the customers where we could expand our wallet share because they're not buying our wire, but they're buying our lighting. Here's the guys that are really growing at the moment that we want to go and make sure that we understand all their needs and we're there to support them in the right way. And here's the new leads that we got in for the last 30 days that have called, and the inside sales guys never got back to them. Some of that sort of stuff. Data-driven actions. Then that sales force is going to be more responsive and more effective than a directionless sales force that are just going out and knocking doors and calling on the sales guys.
Yeah, they're not going to be swinging through the trees with a knife in their teeth anymore.
Yeah.
They're going to actually know what they're going to be hunting better.
And that's actually that direction, provide me specific direction, is what's going to need to happen with the new generation coming in.
I just pictured Greg with his shirt off, swinging from a vine with a knife in his teeth.
That's all you. I mean, if you want a second with that image, you go right ahead. I'll sit back quietly.
Greg, you ever heard of the Big Three?
I have, but it was a while ago.
I think it's a keystone is what you need, man.
There you go.
You need a keystone. Stand on the keystone. Go to keystonetech.com. That's KEYSTONETECH.com, baby. KeystoneTech.com. Light made easy.
The Retrofit Kings.
Mark McGready. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks very much.
Sparks IQ. Check them out.
All the best.
We just had another live stream from the South Central Region Conference of the NAED. See you soon, folks. About 30 minutes. We'll be back.